On shoot. GG. I think through life, we often forget that resting plays a big part in making sure we do well each day. And you would think, oh, whoa, resting? Don't we go to bed every night? Maybe. Some people stay up for over 24 hours, but we're so accustomed to sleep and the association of nighttime, I'm retiring to my quarters, that I think we forget about resting. And so the difference there is when you get in the routine of school and work, you go to bed at night, wake up, get ready, go to school or work, and go throughout your day. And that form of sleep is your rest you have for the night going into the next day. But what is rest? And there's an interesting case where we live in a world that's so productive, productivity oriented. Well, you want to be productive over and over. For the path of success, keep at it, keep chipping away. The mine of diamonds is right ahead. I love that meme. And while that can be imagery for gambling, I will say, regardless, being productive is important. I think that whether it's taking care of your health, making sure that you're keeping at it with some art project, you could be working away from the clock. So, there are definitely some industries like the game and film industry that there are some of those artists that they're never not working. And all these different things. And sometimes you forget to remind yourself to rest. Resting outside of sleeping. But that's kind of the interesting part is some people, and myself included for many years, I didn't want to ever rest too much because then to me I feel like I'd be being lazy. So there's this interesting balance of having a routine, but can you fit resting into your schedule? I try to get out of bed before 8:30 in the morning each morning, and whether I have the day off or I don't, or I'm on vacation or I'm not, I'm a big advocate of trying to get out of bed before 8:30. There's obviously some circumstances, like in some vacations where you don't have a car or you don't have your things around you. Your family, your friends might be agreeing to rest longer, but regardless, I try to, use a lot of my morning each day. But to me, it's not saying that if you sleep in, you're not being productive. Some people work night jobs, so it's not even sleeping in that case. To me, I always like mornings, and it's part of my structure. But part of that structure is, when can I give myself time to rest? And resting doesn't always mean getting in bed. When I play these competitive fighting games like Super Smash Bros. Melee, Street Fighter 6, I've been actively practicing resting while playing. It's part of that flow state that people try to reach. Flow state is interesting too because I've never been a fan of just getting into a flow state. To me, I feel like if you played in a flow state, that almost makes you predictable against opponents that are pretty well-rounded, opponents that are well-practiced, that have good game sense. If I go into a flow state, a good opponent will eventually start tracking your patterns and then ambushing you accordingly. So to me, a flow state is more about, well, it's honestly not even ever being in a flow state. I think the flow state is now going to be dedicated to relaxation. That's kind of my avenue on it. When I actively say relax, I want to relax in that flow state, but my mind wants to always stay active on the opponent in front of me. And again, this can be for chess, Pokemon trading card game, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Super Smash Bros., Street Fighter. When you tell yourself to relax, you can depend upon what you've practiced in terms of muscle memory, also in terms of just seeing what's in front of you, being able to stay active, proactive. And so it really is this interesting dynamic of telling yourself to relax because, you might tense up. I've played opponents that have told me, they've asked and talked to me about how do you stay relaxed. In Super Smash Brothers, you take 4 lives and you win. So those, people call them the last stock scenarios where both players have 1 stock each. And I'll never forget good old Colin, K. Willie. He talked to me after one set and he's like, Pete, how do you How do you stay calm and collected even on a last stock scenario? And I told him that it really is about doing your best, but not having preconceived expectations of, I gotta do this or else my life will fall apart. And I think a lot of that also helps with music performance. I'm glad that throughout college I was pushed to do some solo performances, whether it's in piano or saxophone. It helped a lot because you're able to, you push yourself out there, but also you learn to relax in a flow state. And so again, to me, being able to tell yourself to relax is now where your muscle memory can be dependent. Like your mind can depend off the muscle memory, what you've practiced, whether it's music notes or, doing a fighting game combo, but now your mind can actively focus on playing the music. So if I tell myself to relax during the Super Mario Bros. 2 Overworld theme, during my saxophone solo recital, which I did not ever play that song, but put it on my bucket list. And so if I tell myself to relax, my body, my mind can be in tune with what I've practiced. But now I can focus on the music. What's the musicality of Koji Kondo's production here? Why did he write this song for? What's the feelings that are wanting to be invoked? And so to me, it's like, okay, by relaxing, I'm going to trust my body that has practiced with muscle memory to play those notes, but I'm going to have my mind actively play the music, actively be, what's my audience at hand? What's the venue around me? And I think there is this yin and yang. I think there's this combo you play where it's not just flow state, but it's also not just active thinking. It's active thinking with a flow state, which ironically sounds like it could overload an engine. But telling yourself to relax is big. There's a reason it's covered in movies so much. And while I hope it never gets as dramatic as Hades and Hercules, I do think that being able to tell yourself to relax is such an important skill. Relax, but stay in tune to what's around you. Now, if you want a full relaxation, yeah, go hit the hay for a bit, set multiple alarms, trust me. Or, turn on the jets in the tub if you have one. Regardless, there are multiple ways to dedicate time to relax. And I do think it's important to, while you relax, not worry about things. Obviously, in this world, there's so many things with finances, how your friends and family are doing, that you want to keep tabs on that. But I do think there's also an importance of, okay, these next 2 hours, I'm literally just going to relax. I'm going to take a rest. I'm not even planning to fall asleep, but just in case I do, I'll set my alarms. But I'm going to lay in bed and I'm not even going to look at my phone. And that sounds crazy, right? Oh, if I relax, I want to look at my phone. You can. That's another form to relax. But to me, you can also challenge yourself by saying, what if I rest? What if I just rest? I think by just resting, you can restart a lot of things that you might be panicking about. I think just going for a small rest, and sometimes that rest actually can just be a walk. Sometimes that rest can be calling your parents. But being able to dedicate time to rest and take care of yourself can be that kickstart in the engine for success each and every day. Work, school, hanging out with friends, making new friends, making connections with old ones, and taking care of yourself. I love Mondays.